What's up, Cerebral NFL fans? Happy Friday, December 31st, 2021 morning to everyone. New Year's Eve. I hope you guys got some plans with the family. I imagine a lot of you guys probably are going to be going downtown and doing the things we once did a few years ago for New Year's Eve. It's a little bit more complicated in today's world. With that said, guys, I'm Steven Hyder. This is K-City Sports Media. I really appreciate y'all tuning in this morning for your daily allotment of Cerebral NFL news. Today's topic. It kind of says it in the title. Look, yesterday, this is a fan and a community-driven kind of topic today. Yesterday, I'm doing a live stream, and a lot of you guys are chiming in, and you're like, Gate, what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts around what's going on with Gardner Minshew asking Nick Sirianni to be the starter following the Jets game? And I'll be honest with you. I had no idea. I had no idea that was going on. Like, that, it completely shocked me, surprised me. I didn't know that was actually, like, part of the news cycle. I had no idea. So I went and I looked into it, and apparently it stems from Chris Mortensen's report. So Chris Mortensen basically got a report that I'm going to assume, okay, there's a lot of assumption to this stuff, guys. Let's just be honest when you deal with these type of things. My assumption here is that Gardner Minshew's agent must have put this out there to Chris Mortensen. I don't see how the coaching staff benefits from leaking this. I don't see necessarily how the front office benefits from leaking this unless you're looking at potentially building up that momentum postseason for a trade market for a young man. But I do think this is probably more so coming from the agent of Gardner Minshew. So Minshew Mania. I knew this was going to have the potential to be kind of a big topic just because of the nature behind Minshew, Mania here. Yeah, Gardner Minshew going into Nick Sirianni's office, and he asked Nick Sirianni a very simple question, really. He's like, hey, look, I had fun out there. I loved what went on. What do I got to do to become the starting quarterback here? Even if you're a Minshew fan, you have to respect Nick for this, for Nick Sirianni for doing this. Nick was very open and honest with the young man. And he said, look, we started off this season with an evaluation, the quarterback position of Jalen Hurts. We're not going to do anything until we finalize that evaluation. That evaluation is not finalized. He said it in different terms, in a different way, but nonetheless, that's what he said. He was like, look, I made a commitment. I stand behind my commitment. I stand behind my words. And what good to you would I be if I don't stand to that commitment? And I got to give him low-key respect for that stuff because, it's easy when you're riding that high after having such the disappointment from the Giants. The whole team is rallied around everything. They're ready to fight. You go out there, you get into an early, first half struggle to where you're exchanging scores with the New York Jets for whatever reason. And then you finally put it away. I could understand why that could be kind of a difficult moment for a head coach to be like, hey, look, man, we appreciate everything you just did out there, but I got to stand behind my word. I'm not ruling on what is right or wrong, guys. I'm not I don't feel like doing all that. I mean, there's just no way to tell. But I think what we can say definitively is this. This got leaked by somebody. The pressure is now on everybody, right? Because Jalen Hurts has to absolutely push this team into the playoffs. If we have any kind of a stumble or a fall, and this is the thing that I fear, because even if the stumble and fall is not related to Jalen Hurts, if the defense just has a complete letdown on us and the offense puts up an appropriate amount of points and defense just can't keep anyone out of the end zone, I'm not saying that's going to happen, guys. But if something like that were to happen, we all know, man, it's coming down on two guys. Like Nick Sirianni, to be quite honest, he kind of did what he put the pressure on himself, right? Because now if things don't go a certain way, there's going to be members of this fan base that are going to look at Nick Sirianni with kind of like that side eye, like, yo, what's going on here, man? You had a golden opportunity to make the playoffs. You had a guy asking for it. You didn't switch. We missed it. We know that can blow up, guys. We've been in Philly long enough, most of us here. We all know exactly how this stuff goes. So pressure's on. I'll be honest with you. You can't predict anything this NFL season, like I said, guys. I mean, the nature of the illness that's being spread around here and the way it's impacting locker rooms over the last few weeks, I'm not going to predict because I don't know who might be available for any team at any given point. But I do feel like everything is in front of us. Like it feels like we can be okay here. Like we don't need to overreact to anything. Like we can just kind of chill, take those deep breaths, let it be what it is. Now, I will say a few things here. I don't fault Nick Sirianni. I think Nick Sirianni handled the situation exactly the way you're supposed to handle the situation. Jalen Hurts is your starter. This is an evaluation about Jalen Hurts. We can get into a much deeper conversation post this season about what the organization may or may not do, none of us can predict it, but we can talk about what they may or may not be grading and what they may or may not be evaluating. And I think that Gardner Minshew handled it the right way. He's a competitor. Like, I don't fault Gardner Minshew for going in there and saying, hey, coach, I love doing this. You know, this is what I live and die for. I love this fan base. Did you see the way this place was rocking? Like, I'm all in for this thing. I can't fault Gardner Minshew for feeling that way. Just like I couldn't fault Jalen Hurts for like, hey, we supposedly had a franchise quarterback. A lot of us thought that, minus 2020 vision. I give my guy some credit because he was never really fully in on Carson Wentz since I've known him. But, you know, a lot of us felt that way. And you can't fault Jalen Hurts for saying, well, the dude didn't live it up to what he should have done. The organization kind of put him in a bad pickle, and they gave me a chance to take the steal. I'm stealing. Jobs in the NFL are hard to come by, especially starting jobs. I can't fault either side of this. I can't fault Gardner Minshew for being a competitor and wanting to play. I can't fault Nick Sirianni for saying, hey, man, my word is gold. I told this young man I'm evaluating him this season. This season's going to be built around him. I'm not turning back on that. I can't fault either guy. I think that it kind of played out the way I would have expected it to play out. I'm kind of shocked that the agent waited this long. I think maybe they were waiting to see the results of the Washington and the Giants game, and then now we kind of see that now they're going to release these reports. Now there's kind of a push to get this guy in, I think, into 2022 into a starting gig. That's what it feels like to me, is that they're trying to get guys into a starting gig for the 2022 season, and I think that's what's going on with Gardner Minshew's camp in terms of that. What I saw from Gardner Minshew, guys, and I've said this before, but some of you guys may not have heard me evaluate him before. I'll give you my evaluation in 2-minute evaluation here, Cliff Notes, if you will. Gardner Minshew was a very good pre-snap reader of the football. I was quite impressed with what he could do pre-snap, identifying what guy in the route, knowing all those things, right? If you put Gardner Minshew even into a half-field read system where he's just picking a side of the field based upon the coverage, and then he's altering his progressions through the reads by what he sees from the defense, the coverage, the guy is going to be quite successful because I do trust that he can read the field. I will say that he's got a below average arm, guys. I mean, I'm not trying to throw shots at him. I'm just being honest, guys. He's got a below average arm. There was a couple throws you could see where the ball dovetailed on him. Guys had to slow down, let the ball come into him. There's different reasons why these kind of things happen. Like, you know, when we deal with Jalen Hurts and we're assessing Jalen Hurts, a lot of Jalen's issues with the deep ball has to do with mechanics. His pocket mechanics need great improvement. His base, he gets heel clicky on deep throws. He throws from a bad base, and he's got a really elongated delivery. He's got to fix those things up on those deep balls. When you deal with Gardner Minshew, it's really more of an issue of arm strength. He kind of lacks the arm strength. And I've said it a million times, guys, that arm strength can be improved. Tom Brady's a great example of a guy who was not a strong arm quarterback coming into the league. And by, year 20 of making these subtle improvements to his game over a 20-year career, now he's got one of the better arms in the league. So, I mean, those things can be tightened up, they can be improved, but it doesn't just happen overnight. It's like taking a guy to a weight room and expecting that guy to, come out there, looking like, like buff dude in like 2 weeks. It takes time, man. Those things take time to develop, to be quite honest. In preparing for this, I did take a look at a few notes that stood out to me. I went to PFF's premium stats, guys, and I wanted to see a couple of things to kind of get a feel for what's going on here. And I was looking at passes that are less than 2.5 seconds. And I wanted to see the total attempts, right? Because it's easy for me to come out here and tell you guys that Jalen Hurts has the longest time to throw in the league. But while that's true, and there's certain, statements you can make about that, scheme matters in that, right? So if you're running a ton of RPO and play action, you're automatically going to push up your time to throw numbers. It's, if you're throwing more mid and deep progression passes, your time to throw is going to get a lot larger. So if you got guys that are checking the ball down under 10 yards on a lot of passes, of course their time to throw is going to be low. That's why you look at a guy like Ben Roethlisberger. He's got the lowest number in the league. He's call it the fastest processing. It's not really processing. He's the quickest release in terms of the football of his hands in the league. Ben Roethlisberger is. A lot of it has to do with the fact of who their offensive coordinator is, their scheme, and the fact that Ben doesn't want to take hits anymore. So it's complex. So I wanted to see, okay, scheme. Give me some stuff from the scheme to analyze what's happening here. And what I did notice is when I looked at passing attempts that are less than 2.5 seconds, on the season, Jalen has thrown 187 attempts and completed 132 for 70.6 completion percentage on those. Touchdowns to interceptions, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1,100 yards on the season. yards per average. So guys, that's not, it's allowing YAC to be included in a YPA, 6 yards. Okay. What I did notice is when I take a look at some other quarterbacks, West Coast systems that have some spread with West Coast elements in it. Patrick Mahomes, 316 attempts on the season compared to 187 with Hurts. You know, you go to Ben Roethlisberger, who's definitely, you know, he's got it's a little different system, and you can see what's going on here. 352 attempts. Tom Brady, 399 attempts. So you can see there's some differences here. I want to take a look at Kyler Murray if I can't find him. So I see A-Rod's 277 attempts. Kyler Murray, 221 attempts. So that's kind of interesting. Kyler Murray, 221. Jalen, 187. Those two guys, in my opinion, they need to do some things where they're not always trying to get these guys to kind of move around, wait for things to develop. They need to get quicker things in there, to be quite honest, for them, for a system perspective. But let's take a few seconds, guys. Let me take a look at your comments, and let's talk about this, guys. What's up, Charles Queen? How you doing, buddy? Jalen, what's good, man? What's up, Ref Taco? You're not late today, bro. I appreciate you, man. He said, you know what, Minshew? That if he doesn't want to work for it, then no. I don't think it's a matter if he doesn't want to work for it. I mean, he was asking what he needs to do. And Nick's just being honest with him. Like, I'm not making that change this season. What's up, Lucio? I appreciate you tuning in, bro. Charles said, I think we should keep Minshew as a backup. I agree. For, obviously, I would love to have him for 2022 as well, but he's definitely a competitor. He wants to play. And I wonder if anyone's crazy enough to give us some pretty good value this year after some of these experiments at quarterback failed. Cough, cough, Carolina. Philly, the podcast. What's up, Joe? How you doing, buddy? He said, I low-key don't believe them. Who would leak that? I think the agent might, if they want, if they want an angle to get him a starting gig. But yeah, I don't think the coaching staff would. It doesn't make sense for the coaching staff to leak that. Agreed. What I would expect from Minshew and Sirianni. Yeah, I think both of them kind of did exactly what I would suspect they were going to do. Lucio says, every player that does not start should be asking the coach that question. There's nothing wrong with that. I agree, Lucio, right? Like, I would have serious concerns if a guy's not asking that type of question if I'm a coach. Like, then why are you here? Are you here to collect a check on me, man? Like, are you here to try to win football games, try to compete and help? I agree. NFC East Beast said, good morning, coach. Cornerstones. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, NFC East Beast. I appreciate you guys, man. New Year's Eve. Anyone got any big plans, guys? Let me know. Me? I'm just chilling. I'm not doing much of anything, guys. Dante said, Hurts is coming along. I need to see more in the pocket. I agree. I think most people are the same exact point where it gives you some off-schedule stuff that's pretty impressive to see at times. He's getting better at the in-pocket stuff, but I think some of the throwing mechanic things got to be cleaned up a little bit. Some of the, playing in time, on time, and in rhythm, that stuff has to be cleaned up a little bit. But he's getting better in terms of, okay, sliding, maneuvering the pocket, hanging a little tougher in the pocket before scrambling. There's some subtle improvements from him. Philly Fan D said, if a player doesn't want to play, shouldn't be on the team. I agree, Philly Fan. If a guy doesn't want to play, then yeah, they're basically there to collect a check, right? I mean, mad respect for him going into the coach's office and being like, hey, man, I know you like this kid, but like, I want a shot too, man. I'm here to play. I respect it. Paul said, Eagles could get at least a third rounder for Minshew in the offseason, as many teams are looking for upgrades at the quarterback around the league, around the NFL, with a weak quarterback class in this year's draft. That's crazy value, Paul. If they get a third-round pick, I think you have to take it. I like Minshew a lot as a backup. Pretty hard to upgrade over Minshew as a backup, I'm going to be honest. If someone's going to give you a third-round pick for Minshew, I think you have to take it. Agree at Paul. I think Stash will request a trade if there isn't a true quarterback competition next year. That might be what they do to try to, like, NFC East Beast, they might try to play that card to keep him here. Paul said, teams needing a quarterback for 2022, starter or quality backups are the Steelers, Giants, Browns, Lions, Panthers, Saints, and then you have teams like the Vikings, the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Packers, who may trade their quarterbacks. Even Vegas, I hear rumblings from Vegas that they're looking to potentially move on from Derek Carr, which I think is crazy. Derek Carr is a good quarterback. If they move on for him, I think they're going to learn a very valuable lesson if they don't get a guy like Aaron Rodgers or somebody in there. Add the Broncos too, Paul. I hear you. Yeah, they definitely probably will look for somebody. Trey Brown says, do you think Cam Newton will retire? I felt bad for him. I think it's a matter of, will Cam accept a backup role in the league? Because I do think Cam could get another 3 or 4 years out of the league just by being an adequate backup, a guy that you can trust to go in and, do some things for you if you lose your starter. It's a it's a comp between like the money you pay for that guy, for the experience he has. It's possible because he's taken a lot of injuries over his career. That's the other thing. He's really taken a beating over his career. Dante said, what advantages do you believe Hurts got over Minshew? Physical advantages. So physical advantages, he's a better athlete. He's a better athlete than Minshew. He's better. So Minshew is surprisingly good at playing in the pocket. Like, he's got some mobility to him. So, I mean, he's not like a sitting duck if the pocket breaks down. He's not like Mac Jones to where he's just not, he's a static athlete. Mac Jones is. Like, Minshew's better than that. He's, I wouldn't call him a dynamic athlete. He's not Kyler Murray. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Jalen Hurts. He's none of those type of guys. Josh Allen would be in that category. Herbert would be in that category of being a little bit more of a dynamic athlete, a guy that can really kind of hurt you moving around the pocket a little bit. But I will say that Minshew is pretty good. He's better than people think at doing that. But what you can do with a guy like Jalen in terms of your run game is different. Although you can see Jalen looks a little different with the ankle. It was pretty good to see in practice this week that they were moving him around more. He was showing a little bit more mobility. I'm talking about his lateral mobility, Dante, like side to side, because I think that was the bigger issue with him over the last, 2 games. Paul said, Cam will not be offered a 2022 contract from the Panthers. I think he's done with playing. It's possible. Will Sam Darnold be offered a contract? Are they going to want him back? Thomas Bynum said, it's not the fact that he's striving to be a starter that's the problem. His way about starting the conversation was crooked. You think it was crooked, Thomas, to go into the coach's office and ask him what you need to do to earn the job? I don't know if I'd say it's crooked, man. I mean, the dude's a competitor. He wants to play. He's not saying, give me the job. He's asking him what needs to be done for him to earn the job. And I think Nick showed a lot of integrity to say, like, look, man, like, there's nothing you can do this season that's going to earn you the job. This is all about Jalen. Jalen has, this is coming from Jalen and what he can and cannot provide. We're not moving in another direction until that evaluation is made, which I think, I think both guys, I have no problem with either guy. Mad Hatter said Howie's master plan to get picks. Possibly Mad Hatter. I mean, you never really know with this front office, but that's not the sense I got early on from it, but who knows? You know what I mean? Hurts can run. Minshew is mobile, but not a runner. Part of Eagles' running success is having Hurts in there. I agree, Paul. Thomas Bynum said, as bad as Carson played last year, Jalen never came in and tried to backdoor him like Gardner just did after winning a game against the Jets. If he did, though, would people be so cool about it? I think people are ready to move on from Carson, Thomas. I don't think they would have cared. I think there's, a segment of the fan base that's very pro Carson Wentz, and they still follow Carson Wentz's career. There's an element of us that were Eagle fans. We thought Carson could have been a guy that could have been a franchise quarterback, but, he cracked under the pressure from the front office and the way the front office kind of treated the situation. And at the end of the day, it was, for me personally, it was kind of a bit of a good riddance with him. Like, I still think the guy has talent. I'm not saying that Carson's a bum. I think he can play. I still think he's a top 12 quarterback, but I just didn't want to deal with the headache anymore. I was just tired of dealing with the headache of Carson. NFC East B says, what's the big news, Steven? Ready to spill it yet? It's coming out I'm going to release it this evening, guys. It's going to come out this evening. Channel members already know. I had a conversation with the channel members last night, so they already know everything that's going on in terms of the news I'm going to release tonight. Paul said, Cam can't pass the ball more than 25 yards down the field. That passing shoulder injury never quite healed for him. Jalen said, if we move Minshew, should our backup be a similar profile to Hurts like Lamar and Huntley, or should we go after the best young backup? If you're in on here's my perspective, Jalen. If you're in on you're in on Jalen Hurts, Jalen. Sorry. If you're in on him, then I think you get someone that's comparable backup to him. Like you get a guy that you don't have to completely restructure the nature of your offense for if he goes out. And saying that, is that a veteran guy? Is that a young guy? That's why I was kind of in on Jamie Newman, because I thought Jamie Newman was a really strong arm quarterback. I thought he had issues reading the field as well. He had to progress there. but I thought he had the mobility to kind of carry that offense. You're building around it. He has a really underrated arm. I'm assuming that he must have been really, really bad at reading coverage once they got him in camp. So I really wish that they would have stuck with Jamie Newman to develop him. Sometimes guys that come from those type of systems, how it works, Jalen. It takes them 3 or 4 years to get around to doing it. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, they might go the veteran route. Maybe they snag one of these guys that had a starting gig this year or was kind of in consideration for a starting gig, and then gets let go as these teams trade for other guys or draft guys. So one of those guys might come available. That's more of a scheme fit. That's a veteran. We'll see. Dante said arm strength. Is Hurts' arm a lot stronger? Yes. The Minshew, yes. Hurts' biggest issue is he's fundamentally flawed from the base, the throwing base, and then from the motion, his throwing motion. He's got a very elongated delivery, causes the football to hang on deep throws. But if you look at things like a far hash timing route, so think like a 10 to 12-yard out route where you're throwing from the far hash mark, so it's got to be on time. You got to have some anticipation to it. And you got to put some mustard on the football. You can really see Jalen Hurts' arm pop on that. His biggest problem is in the anticipation department of certain routes, especially in breaking routes. But in terms of the arm strength, he's got arm strength. It's there. He's just got to clean up some of the mechanics. Sorry, guys. It kind of jumped on me a little bit. Sorry. Here goes Paul. Paul said Sam Darnold was already extended from his rookie deal by the Panthers last May, a 5th-year option and $18 million for 2020-22. So he's back, unless they can get out of it. I don't know if I'd pay Sam Darnold that much. Would you, Paul? I don't think Sam Darnold is complete trash, like some people think. But I don't know. I want Sam Darnold. It's hard to say, Paul, because quarterbacks get paid a lot. $18 million sounds like a lot until you really see the rest of the quarterback contracts. But I'm not too sure I'm sold on Sam Darnold as a franchise guy at this point. Philly fan D, people need to realize because of Hurts' running ability opens up plays for the running backs. I agree, Philly fan. Take Hurts out, running game goes down a little bit. I mean, I still think we were pretty good with Minshew in there against, I think, somewhat porous run defense, to be quite honest. But yes, I do agree that other teams that have better defensive talent might be able to cue in a little bit more on the run game if you don't have that ability to zone read them. I agree to an extent of what you're saying. Thomas said Jalen has shown improvement throughout the year for what we expected out of him this year. Every week, is he the guy? Gardner has a good game against a bad team, and he's trying to steal the job. I mean, Thomas, what do you expect from him, though, man? He's a competitor. Like, I have no problem with him doing it. Like, he's asking the question from, a proactive standpoint of saying, what can I do to earn it, is essentially what he's asking. He's like, look, I'm not here in the NFL to be a long-term backup. I want to be a guy. Like, what do I need to do? This is my current team. And then Nick's being open and honest with him. And Nick's saying, look, man, the evaluation is of Jalen Hurts. Like, it's not happening this season. It's just not going to happen. Like, I have no problem with either party technically doing it, how they played those roles. Paul said Eagles could use their second-round pick to select a quarterback to develop as a quality backup. Maybe, but I don't know if you – look, Paul, I get the irony in the statement. I catch what you're doing. But no more second-round picks on backup quarterbacks. Like, it's not where you pick them. Trey Brown said, how do you feel Carson has played this year? I haven't watched enough of his snaps to give like a definitive statement, Trey, but I felt from what I've seen, just game footage and, this new cycle around him, it feels like he's been a little up and down. Mad Hatter said, with Hurts' work ethic and ability, I can only see him being a top 10 quarterback in the league. The young man does have a very good work ethic. I don't think anyone can deny that. He takes care of his body. He's out there lifting with guys like, Lane Johnson. They respect him. They respect him in the locker room, and that's a big thing. NFC East beast. I know you guys aren't big on Willis, but at this point, I think he's similar to Hurts, more of a running quarterback at this point. I'm not big on Willis. It's not because I don't think he could be good NFC East beast. It's that he's playing at Liberty, so I don't know what to expect from where he would be at in terms of NFL offenses and the ability to operate them. Like, it's a big unknown, right? It's the same question they had going with Trey Lance at North Dakota State and the fact that he only He only played one season and he had like one game in 2020. So I mean, it's kind of, you know what I mean? Like, although the circumstances are different because of the nature of the system and the competition, it's a little hard to judge Willis, to be quite honest. I'd have to see him. I have to see his film, and I need to see NFL level progressions and see how he reacts to those. Like that's kind of how you get into it. And until I can really see 4, probably 5 games with Willis, because I think you need to go a little heavy on guys like that. I just, I can't say anything definitive. You know what I mean? Paul said quality backup quarterbacks who will be on the market this offseason as free agents: Nick Foles, Cam Newton, Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Case Keenum. Dante said Tyrod Taylor would be a perfect backup if we could get a 4th or 5th rounder for Minshew. I like Tyrod Taylor a lot. Underrated. I think he's a good football player. What's up, Philly Notion? How you doing, buddy? He said, Gate. 100%. I appreciate you, brother. He says, does Howie deserve another year operating the Eagles draft room? Looking back at some of his questionable picks, Howie's not as crazy as initially thought. Great stream. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that, Notion. Ultimately, Notion, you know how it works, man. I ain't got no power over the organization. It's not like my words are going to have an influence on their decision. I think he's going to get another year. I mean, I'm kind of shocked we haven't heard more of a news cycle about the contract situation with Howie Roseman. But my guess is he's getting another year. I mean, that'd be my guess, but I don't know. You know what I mean? It's not like I have any inside information. Paul said quarterbacks under contract who likely would be on the move: Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr. Man, Derek Carr, if they move on from Derek Carr, bro, Vegas got no idea what they're doing. You better get Aaron Rodgers, you move on from Derek Carr. You better get one of the big 3. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, or you better hope Deshaun Watson clears those legal hurdles and, get you in a position. Because if not, boy, that's tough, man. I think Derek Carr's better than they think. Gate City the GOAT. I appreciate you, Scoob-Doo. Appreciate that, bro. That's a vote of confidence, guys. I really appreciate that. NCSB says anyone not looking to take the boss's job is stuck in a rut. Those stuck in a rut get run over. Hurts would not feel threatened with a 2nd, 3rd round draft selection. Hurts is mentally strong enough to handle this scenario. Though, man, it's just not where you spend draft capital on backups. There are better ways of building your roster than picking a backup quarterback with the 2nd and 3rd round pick. And I get what you're saying, Paul, that every organization has a value grade on the position, and the Eagles in particular value the backup quarterback position at a grade that's probably around the top 12 position areas that they want, between left tackle and starting quarterback and interior defensive lineman and edge rushers. I get that they have a high grade on the backup quarterback position. I understand what you're saying. I just think that there are better ways of improving the team, man. I think we've done that too much. That stupid saying of the quarterback factory crap. And I do believe there's an aspect of them that believes in that nonsense, that they feel like that they could sub in quarterbacks the way that Jeff Stoutland can sub in offensive linemen. I think there is an element of them that believes that nonsense, to be quite honest. Thomas Bynum said, I just didn't like how we went about it, how he went about it. Sorry, man. And to be honest, I don't like how well it's being taken. My thing is a mindset like that could mess with team chemistry. Given if Hurts had a weaker mindset, I mean, I don't think it messes with the team chemistry. I think the team is behind Jalen Hurts. I don't think it disrupts it at all. For me, like I said, man, I wouldn't respect a guy that's so willing to just sit back and be a backup quarterback. Like, he wants to know what he can do to be a starter. I think what he's doing is declaring his intentions, Thomas, to be honest. He's declaring his intentions that he wants to be a starting quarterback in the league. And I think he's trying to make it clear to the coaching staff in the front office that that's not going to be in Philadelphia. He'd like to be out of here. I think that's what he's doing. Don't draft the helmet. I hear you, NFC East Beast, but scheme and your competition and things like that matter. It's not necessarily drafting the helmet. Philly Fan D, Hurts reminds me of Randall Cunningham. Both had bad mechanics, but Randall improved when he got coaching with the Vikings. Dante said, Will's got the arm and can run. He needs 3 years of development, though. Ritter, yeah, I think Cincinnati Bearcats quarterback, I wouldn't mind getting him if he slips to the 3rd or 4th round. Yeah, you're talking about Desmond Ritter. He's pretty good. I like Desmond Ritter. I don't know where he's going to be at in terms of NFL, like I got to really look at his film and see like concepts and scheme that he's running. But the couple of games I've watched him this season, I didn't think he was that good coming into the season, and I came away with a different perspective on him after watching him play a couple times. Paul said Howie will get a 4-year extension. In fact, I believe it's already been completed and will be announced after the season. Possible, Paul. They may not just, you're right. They may have already done the underlying workings on the deal, and they're going to wait until, what I'm saying, it gets announced. So Paul said Deshaun Watson's initial court hearing will be late January, which likely have subsequent court dates, so he won't be going anywhere till late spring at the earliest. We'll see. I don't, like I said, man, Paul, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a judge. I don't want to try to play one. I have no clue about the legal situation with him. Jalen said early in the season, the offense was tailored to Hurts' strengths. Now the offense is tailored to best unit on the O while staying away from Hurts' weaknesses. Do you see it that way too? To an extent, yes. I also think that they had a vision for what they thought Jalen Hurts would be, and they try to model certain systems to get there. I do think there's an element of what you're saying, which was a lot of numbers-based RPO stuff. Okay, read the box. What's the box say? But it feels so simplified to where they should have known better defenses were going to adjust to that. That was going to come. That was going to happen. And what you see is what Patrick Graham and the Giants did. And also the other game that stands out to me that's super clear, Jalen, is what Tampa Bay did, where they were rocking their safety into the box to manipulate what they wanted you to do. So now you're no longer dictating the defense. The defense is dictating the offense. That's the problem I have with the early season stuff. I'm not adamantly opposed to RPOs or anything like that. I think a lot of guys are having success running it in the league now. But I will say that the aspect that defenses started dictating to us what they wanted us to do, that was a problem, right? And we even saw how much we struggled in the first half of last week with Patrick Graham, who I still think is an excellent coach. I think Patrick Graham is a way better coach than most people realize. But Patrick Graham really coached those guys up in terms of, okay, let's rock the box with the safeties. Let's manipulate numbers to make those reads harder for him. And then get your hands up. Know those screens are coming. Get your hands up. I thought they did a good job. I honestly thought they did a really good job, Jalen, to be honest. Paul said if Eagles keep their top 4 selections, which will be in the top 50 picks, I could see them taking a flyer on a quarterback if they feel that player could develop into a starter in 2 to 3 years' time. Yeah, Paul, I'm not trying to, don't get me wrong, man. I'm not trying to predict what they will or won't do. I'm not interested in that game, Paul. You know how that stuff works. Man, I'm not trying to predict this organization. I know they value the backup quarterback position. I just, me personally, I think you could get a better investment for the team elsewhere. Now, look, if you're in the 3rd round, 4th round, then, yeah, I think you can make an adequate argument around it. But I do think this team has a lot of holes, man. There's just a lot of things that need to be put into play for this team. Marina Sands, what's going on? He said, if Minshew wants to be a full-time starter, go to the CFL. Well, I mean, he could land in Carolina, which is CFL adjacent. Paul said, Willis is a bigger, stronger version of Trey Lance, but Willis played a lot of games in college while Lance did not. Exactly, Paul. Billy Talk Podcast. What's up, Mike? How you doing, buddy? He said, your guess, is Miles Sanders re-signed in the offseason, or are we moving on? Thanks for that one, Mike. It depends on what the agent wants, Mike. If they want top 10 money, I don't think it's going to happen. But I don't know. It's not like I have any inside information. I think if that money line comes between 15 to 20, somewhere between the 15th paid back to the 20th paid back, there could be a chance that they say, look, the talent level's there. It's more so these nagging injuries. This guy's got to take better care of his body. The agent and the player are willing to agree to that type of contract. Sure. Ultimately, I don't know if it's going to work out, Mike. And I think that running back is a position that you want to be a factory somewhere, be a running back factory. Just keep producing guys, keep identifying guys in the draft. If you can get them late in the draft, then get them, pull them out of there. I would keep going that way if I could. If it works out, then it works out. You know what I mean? But ultimately, that's kind of a tough thing to assess of how they're going to view the situation. I'm not really sure, man, to be honest. But like I said, top 10 money, I feel like they would walk away. But I think when you get to that 15th to 20th spot, they might see that could be potentially valued. Anything under the top 20 paid running back, I would see that more as a prove it deal. So then that would just basically be him receiving a prove it deal from the front office, in my opinion. Michael Flanagan said, "What's up, Mike?" Jalen said, "The Panthers game was the eye opener, even though we won." Sure. Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I was there live watching it, Jalen. So, yes, I mean, definitely there were some moments in that game to where we struggled early in the game to really move the football. And some of that, I think, caught Nick and the coaching staff's eye as well. Mike, I appreciate that, brother. Happy New Year's to you too, man. Paul said NFC teams who really struggle stopping the run, Packers, Cardinals, and even the Rams, if you stay with it. Yeah, also, I mean, like I said, you got to be better at making sure they're not rocking their safeties to take advantage of it. And that's something we got to be better at doing, is identifying when teams are rocking their safeties and then knowing how to take advantage of that cover situation when it happens, Paul. I think that's one of the big things that's happening to us with teams that are having success. They're rocking their safeties, bringing them into the box to manipulate the numbers in the box to then get Jalen to react the way they want them to. So we're being reactionary instead of basically putting that team, instead of being proactive, basically. I think what's going on here. You say NFC playoff teams. I do think you're right about the Packers. I think they're very susceptible. And they play in a cold environment. Mad Hatter, the run game is going to take over because all the teams are building smaller, faster backs. Seven defense. I got you. I got what you mean. It's Grufo said, we need a new dominant pass rusher, a corner, and a linebacker in the first. Not bad. I don't know if we'll get all those in the first, but I agree with that list that we need interior defensive linemen, pass rushers, corners, and we need linebackers. We need all levels of the defense. We could use it. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be in the first, because I do think that you can get defensive line through the second and third round of this draft. I think this is a much better draft than last year's draft in terms of the total depth at the defensive line, but sure. Dante said, Marvin Wilson, how is he coming along? He's a talented defensive tackle. I'm kind of shocked they haven't really called him up and put him in games, to be honest, Dante. They're still, I think, trying to develop Marlon Tuipulotu as that nose. I had a conversation with Jalen last night, and one of the things that Jalen pointed out to me about how he felt about Marlon Tuipulotu is that when he took a look at his film, he thought there were some technique issues from Marlon Tuipulotu to where he doesn't necessarily engage his hips the best. And that gets him kind of pushed off the football. And it may have gotten hidden just because he's playing in the Pac-12 and you don't have a lot of run-dominant football teams there. So you can hide those kind of deficiencies a little bit. I thought it was a pretty interesting take. I haven't had a chance to I'm going to go back and look again, just see what he thinks, and then try to get a feel for what they're doing here. But, Marvin Wilson was he was a guy that most people thought would be more of a priority in the draft than what he became. And, I think we ended up getting him off the practice squad of somebody, or we got him during cutdowns. NFC East B says, looks like both teams will be at full strength this Sunday, barring those injured. This Washington football team is no joke and will be a true test for the Eagles. You think so, NFC East Beast? I don't know, man. I mean, they're having their own internal struggles here. I do think that their talent level is pretty good. I don't think they're horrible, NFC East Beast, but when you got guys throwing fists on the sidelines, I'm not too sure how much they're into the 2021 season anymore. But, hey, they're unpredictable. I see that aspect of things, NFC East Beast, to where they're completely unpredictable. I wouldn't re-sign Sanders, to be honest. Like I said, to me, it depends on the value of the contract. If the Eagles do trade Minshew, they would need a quality backup, which I would keep getting back to them, drafting one with one of their first 4 selections. It's pretty high to take a backup, man. Lotta said, hey, Coach, Hurts contract opens up on 2022. He made the case for extended monies, or do we prepare to move on? That's hard to say, Lotta, because I can't predict what the front office is evaluating and what the scouts are evaluating in terms of how they feel about the pocket mechanics going on here. And if they think that giving him another year or two to kind of develop those. I don't know that he's in the realm of contract extension right yet. I'm pretty sure they're going to see the first half of 2022 before they make a decision like that, which I get is what you're saying, October of 2022, kind of that first half of the season to assess. It's possible. He's got to make some improvements. He needs to make improvements to throwing the football. He needs to make improvements with the deep ball in particular. He's got to be a little bit better at anticipating throws. So, I mean, those things I think they're going to need to see before they extend him. But I don't, my gut instinct is this. He's done enough to probably be here through 2022, and he's probably going to be the leading guy to be the quarterback in 22. I don't know if they'll open up a quarterback competition. I cannot predict that. There's just no way of me knowing what the intentions of the front office is going to be. I think it's a good sign that the coaching staff seems to really love this kid because, you got the head coach meeting with him on Fridays. You got your quarterback coach has a personal relationship with him. Jeff Stoutland likes the young man. All that stuff is kind of factually true. So, I don't know if you're going to have an issue where you have the coaching staff on one side of things and maybe the front office on another. If you're going to have a split of front office, I can't predict, guys. I have no way of knowing that yet. Paul said Sanders is signed through next season. Eagles don't have to do anything with him extension-wise at this time. Yeah, but if you're going to extend him, it's going to be next year. You know what I mean? So it's on that time. If you're going to extend him and you're trying to get market value, that would be the time to try to gain the advantage on the market value after he kind of got shut down. And you know what I mean? You're dealing with the injury situations for him to say it's evaluating his contract. I think those things that's when you try to capitalize on it. Panthers lost to Eagles was a game the Panthers never recovered from and went downhill from there. Who are some good defensive ends after Hutchison? I don't know how to say that young man's name. Thibaudeau? I don't know how you say his name. Clarftis and Ojabo, because I don't really see any dominant defensive ends after them. Big Moose, stay tuned in, man. We're doing these Saturday live streams, and we're going to cover that topic. So I don't want to give it away, but there are actually some really good defensive and pass rushers in this draft class. There's some good interior defensive linemen, but I don't want to give away how we have things rated. What's up, Coach Gates? Appreciate you, Drew Johnson. How you doing, buddy? J-Rock360 said, Minshew, please don't start acting like Jim McMahon, please. You knew when you signed you were going to be a backup. Facts, we don't need no more quarterback controversies. You can stay against Dallas. J-Rock, there's a couple problems with that statement, though, man. He didn't sign here. He got traded here. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with him asking for what he needs to do. I mean, to me, a guy needs to compete. I respect Nick for sticking to his guns and saying, this is what we said the season would be about. This is how things are going. There's nothing that's in your control other than if you get an opportunity to get into the game, then you take advantage of it. That's the only thing you can do. We're not going to move off of a player in the midst of a playoff race. I have no problem with the guy asking for it. I think that you might have missed that he was traded here. He didn't sign here to be a backup. He got traded to the organization. Jalen said, I think Joe Brady is a good offensive coordinator, but he was the scapegoat in Carolina. I agree with you. Would mind replacing our offensive coordinator with him or him being a consultant. With the Eagles and the last consultant was a disaster. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to go that route of bringing in 101 coaches again, but maybe. I mean, there's no telling. Paul said rookie contracts cannot be extended until after their third season is completed for players. Right, Paul, but this is the end of his third season, 19, 20, 21. So he would be going into the contract extension talks in March when the new league calendar year starts. Dante said we need another true outside receiver. Rager and Watkins are both good yak guys to have on screen plays and short passes. Paul said Joe Brady was terrible as an OC. I disagree, Paul. I disagree with that. I live here in North Carolina, so do I, Paul. And I followed him very closely the last 2 years while he was in Carolina. I disagree that he was a terrible offensive coordinator. I think he got a bad run of luck on what's going on in Carolina. And I think that they chose a college coach and they made a mistake. Big Moose said we need more blue chip talent. The teams around the league got a scheme for offensively and defensively, like when they think of the Eagles this player is thought of off the bat. You got to climb up higher into the draft probably to do that, though. Big Moose. That's probably really the issue here. Is you got to get higher in the draft to be able to do that. You know, the one player I would keep an eye on is like Ahmad Gardner, because right now we're sitting at the 19th, 20th, and I think the 23rd picks. It sucks a little bit, guys, no doubt about it. But if Ahmad Gardner, you know, because I saw one publication that has him kind of as a top 10 pick, which that I hope that doesn't happen. I'm hoping he can make it to the teens. But if you can move from 19 to 16, or if one of these, you know, if Miami has a collapse down the stretch and that 19th pick turns into like maybe the 16th pick or something, I think you'd be in better position to do some things. But yeah, it's Pretty Dime the Wordsmith. What's up? I just got here and missed your take on the Minshew Sirianni office situation, but I will run it back. Thank you. I appreciate that. Fireman got the Google's on. If Eagles can start fast versus Washington football team, we will see them fold up by the second half. I agree with that. I think they might be trying to check it in on the 2021 season. They are unpredictable, Paul. I'll say that. They're very unpredictable because, you know, when a team's in the situation they're in, you just don't know how they're going to respond to the situation. Maybe they respond with, a lot of adversity and come out fighting. They also could fold. I agree. The opposite could happen too, and they just completely fold on it. I really don't know what to make of that team right now. Sam the Artist, formerly known as S4L. What's up, buddy? Minshew can ask all he likes, but Jalen is the better quarterback. Passing-wise, they are about the same upside, but there are a few players that match Hurts' athleticism that aren't named Lamar Jackson. Fireman said dominance, not just get by. Philly Fan D said, we don't sign Sanders, and we could go a stud running back. Would you spend a top pick to get one? I'd have to look over, like Philly Fan D, I'm not that far into the running back prospects. Guys, there's going to be a big announcement tonight, and some of this has to do with the way I'm going to be handling scouting this draft class for you guys in free agency. I'm going to be adding some things for you guys, so that's going to be part of the announcement that I'm making. I'm not that far into running backs, to be honest, so I'd have to see the running back class. I do feel like if we wanted a contact bounce back, I thought there was a few pretty good ones in the 2021 draft class that we passed on. So I got to look and see the fits and what they are from, that type of perspective of the players. Paul said, I love wide receiver Treylon Burks of Arkansas, 6'3", 225, and David Bell of Purdue, 6'2", 215. Yeah, David Bell popped on the film last year when I was watching, can't remember his name, Rondell Moore. Yeah, so yeah, I definitely watched a little bit of David Bell as one of their top 4 selections. Kibo said, how do we know what Sirianni said to Minshew, bro? It's coming back down from someone's camp. I'm assuming that it's Gardner Minshew's camp leaking what was said and wanting an opportunity for a team to come in to, the intentions of the Eagles are not to play Minshew. So if somebody wants to trade for him in the offseason, I think that's what the intention is. But you know what I mean? What's up, Spike23 says, I don't respect any backup trying to wreck the season with slime ball moves. I don't think it's a slime ball move, and I don't think he's trying to wreck the season, man. Guys got to develop their own careers too, Spike. You got to be, we got to be reasonable. The fact that the guy's a competitor, he's trying to advance his career too. I don't think he's trying to disrupt the locker room. I don't think this is disrupting the locker room to ask what you need to do to become a starting quarterback. Kivo, no, I don't know. Is that supposed to say Jack time? I can't tell what that's supposed to say. Knows. Okay, Kivo, you knows what was actually said. Who knows? Who knows what was actually said? Sorry, man. To say Brady is a bad offensive coordinator is to dismiss the fact that he lost his best player virtually all season for the last 2 years in McCaffrey. This season, he had to start 3 different quarterbacks. Spa City Chop said, Gates, I think if we see Dallas first round, we will clip them and send them home in the playoffs. I hope so, man. I'm definitely getting some heat from Cowboy fans. I appreciate y'all chiming in on the channel, guys. I appreciate the fact that you guys watch the channel and comment, Cowboy fans. But yeah, I'm definitely taking some heat from Cowboy fans. They're waiting for us in week 18 in the possibility of playing us again in the first round. So their fan base is definitely getting riled up for it. Jack Time said, how's anyone going to hate on Minshew for trying to start when Jalen is still hurt and can't really run? I mean, everyone's entitled to a perspective on it. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the take that some of them are saying. I don't think it's a slime ball move. I don't think he's trying to do anything that's, like trying to undermine anyone. I think guys should be focused on their career. And if a guy doesn't want to compete, why would you have him in there? I mean, it's not like he's asking Sirianni to name him the starter. He's asking him what he has to do. And then Sirianni's being a stand-up guy and saying, like, look, man, the evaluation is on Jalen Hurts, not Gardner Minshew. I'm sorry, but that's not really a discussion for 2021. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem with it personally, but Cat 1017 said, yo. Paul said, lots of quality running backs in this draft to be had in the second, third, fourth rounds. Jack Tom said, Minshew makes better decisions and is quicker reading the defense. Their arms are about the same. I disagree with that one, Jack Tom. Their arms are not about the same. But Minshew seems to read the field and make decisions quicker. Jalen has through the C's. I don't know what that means, bro. I disagree with the arm strength aspect, Jack Time. Gardner Minshew's arm strength is nowhere near where Jalen Hurts is. Jalen Hurts has some things he's got to work on from the throwing base and the actual delivery of the football, his throwing mechanics. But Gardner Minshew has a far weaker arm than Jalen Hurts does, if I'm being honest about it. J-Rock 360 said, facts, Skate. We need to stop acting like Miles Sanders is Barry Sanders. If he wants to work out a reasonable deal, we can keep him. I agree. It's about the value of the deal. Paul said, watch Burke's film versus SEC opponents like Alabama, Auburn, Texas, A&M, and LSU. He played very well versus top defenses in the SEC. Will do. Fireman 2531 says, I don't know. I just think Minshew has that decision-making ability to have the Eagles well above average talented team to make a far playoff push. Yeah, but I mean, like, there's multiple aspects to it, Fireman. I mean, I don't want to try to prognosticate the future. I don't want to say, like, what would or wouldn't happen. I don't know, Minshew, I agree with you. Minshew's faster at processing the field. I don't think there's any doubt about that. What I do wonder is if you play a much better run defense and a team that has more talent defensively, how would the run game look with Minshew? That part I don't know because we're solely dependent upon the offensive line. And to be honest, the offensive line is quite good. So it may just be that they still keep trucking. I mean, that could really be the answer. But I don't want to try to predict it. I don't know. It's to be determined. That's kind of the way I look at it. NFC East B says the Washington football team can be ran on the edges. Let's hope Jalen's ankle is better. Reports are he didn't run much last week because of his ankle. I would say that from what I saw from the game footage, NFC East Beast, from watching the coach's film, his lateral movement didn't look right. I'm trying to think how to state it. It's not that, like, if he's moving north and south, his movement looks fine to me. I do think that there was a little bit to him when he was moving east to west, the lateral movement, to where he didn't look quite right last week. But I saw a couple of really small clips. I can't really judge if he's okay off of those teeny clips that are on Twitter, guys, but his movements looked okay from the clips that they were showing. So we'll see how it comes out in the game. They've been talking all year long, shaking my head. How many backups asked for that request? Mike was asking. I don't know, Mike. I mean, to be honest, it's hard to say, man, because you got tiers of backups. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the risk you run when you bring in a guy like Gardner Minshew. Because to be fair to Gardner Minshew, he is better than a handful of dudes that start on Sundays. So, like, I think that's the risk that you run when you bring in a guy that's of a higher quality backup, is that kind of thing can happen to you. I think that's the inherent risk of it. So where if you got like a young rookie who's first, second year in the league and is nowhere near ready to take the field and command a huddle yet, I mean, yeah, you're not going to deal with these type of questions, of course. Paul said yes about Brady never adjusting with CMC out, who played very few games the last 2 years. You have to adjust to who you have, which Brady failed to do. Correction from last night, Marlon plays high, causing him not to engage his hips. Okay, strength, but not powerful. Run straight into the middle of men. Also, basic hand usage, nothing special. Dante said, as a guy that coached, I'm happy for J.J. Whiteside. He has become one heck of a blocker and special teams player, a glue guy, found his niche in the NFL. Yeah, probably not a second round value, Dante, but I agree. He's a fifth receiver. He's a quality fifth receiver. I think if he left Philadelphia and he didn't have the strain of the second round pick over top of his head, which is not really fair to players because players don't pick themselves, organizations do. I think he would probably be viewed differently, but I don't think he's ever going to get that opportunity in Philadelphia. I think he's always going to be viewed as that second round pick. Paul says, I like this safety, Sine, I think is how you say his name, out of Georgia in the second round. Yeah, I saw him on the list. I was going to put him in that list that I created yesterday, Paul. I didn't do it just because I'm still messing around a little bit with the list. But I want to see more games. I haven't seen enough games to, just basically watching on TV. That's not really coaches' films. It's a different perspective when you can see the coaches' film. The problem is with Georgia, a lot of the games you have to request permission from their media department. Jalen said, I only saw him swipe at nothing twice, but not enough to actually be a problem. Sloppy feet that he can't on his feet at times. Okay, you're talking about Marlon Tuipulotu. I like Oxlong, defensive end from Cincinnati. He's going under the radar. Pretty Dime said, yeah, I don't blame Minshew either. He went to him man-to-man as he should. Once he got the answer from there, he can make decisions on his career going forward. That's the way I see it too, Pretty Dime. J-Rock said, first off, the only reason anybody knows anything about Minshew is because the way he acts and dresses. Once he makes a mistake this in Philly, we don't care about any of that other stuff. Michael said, may I ask what your honest opinion is? If somehow we did make it to the playoffs, could this team really compete against the top winning teams this year? I mean, we are struggling against bad teams. We're struggling to establish a rhythm. And to be fair, Michael, I think some of that might have to do with the fact that we got the game pushed coming off of a bye week to a Tuesday, and then we only had those 5 days to then prepare for the Giants, and then you compound it with Nick going into the protocol. I think there were some circumstances that caused the sloppy play in the beginning. To be fair, Michael, I really don't know how we'll play. That's a big question. I mean, I feel like as long as we're committed to the run and we, Jalen's 100% healthy and can contribute to what we can do in the running game, as long as we have at least Jordan Howard back there with Boston Scott and with Kenneth Gainwell, I feel like, offensively we'll be okay. We can hang with some teams as long as the defense doesn't completely crumble and put us into a complete shootout. The defense is what I'm concerned about. I don't know what to expect from the defense. And we haven't seen this team play against the top tier talent since we made these adjustments. So, I mean, it's a little bit of an unknown, Michael. To be honest and to be fair about it, I really don't know what to expect from him. Jalen's run game is vicious. It's a tough one. Yeah, that movie put on, man, where my guy caught him with an Allen Iverson crossover. It was crazy. In my opinion, we have a few good pieces to build with, but as a whole, we are lacking talent. I agree, Michael. I actually agree with that. There are some young pieces to the team that might be something down the road, but overall, I think we still need an infusion of marquee talent, if you will. Paul said, let's see how the Eagles stack up versus better teams, which is a true evaluation of where they are at the moment. I agree. What's up, Dennis? How you doing, buddy? He said, I personally believe in keeping a good backup in case the starter gets hurt, which is why I would like to see Minshew here next year. If he gets traded in the offseason, I could see him going to Denver, possibly Carolina. There's a few teams. NFC Beast said Foles for one. Matt Hatter said, if Hurts gets us into the playoffs, he will be the youngest Eagles quarterback ever at age 23. Pretty cool. I think the bigger statement, though, is we need a win. we win a game and we play really good in a divisional round, I think that he's on track to probably be a future here in Philadelphia, to be quite honest. I think that's really the test that they're going to look at is can he win a game and how well can he play in that division round? He ends up winning 2 games, guys. I think that there's just come on, there's no discussion after that. It's they're going to clearly extend him when he gets up to that 3rd year. He's not quite to where you can extend him yet, but they're going to extend him if he wins 2 playoff games. What do you think about Anthony Harris's play this year? It's been a really up and down, Spa City. I do think that Anthony Harris is pretty good at flashing in the box at times and making tackles. I think he's a solid tackler. I definitely think he can wrap up and put some guys down. I don't think he's the same physical presence that Epps is shown to be. I don't think he's as athletically gifted as Epps is. I think it might have been Quentin Michael that said that he would probably rather see McLeod be the starter with Epps and then McLeod, Epps kind of splitting reps with Anthony Harris as the third. I kind of feel that might actually be a really good take at this point, to be quite honest. Sam said, I still think JJ would be a solid move to tight end. He is regarded for his blocking and special teams. I mean, that's a 3rd tight end to me. Can he block in line, though? I think he has to prove that still, Sam. I'm not saying he can. I just say, we need to, you know what I mean? Look at what wide receiver Matt Collins has done with the Dolphins as a red zone target. He's made some big plays for them in a limited role. It's true, Paul. What's up, Kara? How you doing? Happy New Year's to you as well. Jalen said, if Denver gives us their first for Hurts, would you do it? I don't know what their first round is. I mean, it's a tough question, Jalen. I have to think on that one, man. I'm not going to give a definitive statement on that one right this second. I don't know what their first round value is. I mean, if someone's going to give you a top 10 pick, of course. But, I mean, they're not a top 10 pick. I think they're, somewhere in the mid round of the first round right now. Here's the thing, though. I mean, if you're doing that, then you're probably going to play Minshew, or you're probably banking on one of these other quarterbacks in the draft class, whether it's Willis, whether it's Desmond Ritter, whether it's Small Hands Pickett, Kenny Pickett, was one of those guys. You're probably going to bank on one of those guys if you do that. Or, like I said, you could go with Minshew and bank on the 2023 draft class. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know what the front office is going to do. That's really hard to say, Jalen, to be honest. Paul said, Happy New Year's to everybody. Be safe. I agree with the statement so much, Dennis. Dennis said, I honestly thought we secured a top 3 to 5 pick with Miami. Then they went on a 7-game win streak. How they did it is beyond me. I hear you, bro. That one bothers me too. Come on, man. It looked like it was going to be such a good pick to start off with, but didn't end that way. I like how Paul said this could only trade Hurts if a proven quarterback comes via trade to the Eagles. 3 games in 13 days is tough. I agree. I like this take. Dante says, we have good defense. We need a couple of special athletes on the back end, like Kyle Hamilton, to increase our play against top quarterbacks. I agree with that. I just don't think we're going to be in position to get Kyle Hamilton unless we really package all of our assets together and get forward. I definitely think he's a top 12 pick, and he might even be a top 10 pick, to be quite honest. I would say there's probably a possibility he's a top 6 pick. It's still early. A lot can change between now and April. These guys haven't gone through testing, and guys slide up, guys slide down. Things change with this draft class stuff, but we'll see. I agree, Carl. Unfortunately, we haven't really played a good team since we found our identity. I agree with that a lot. A wild card round win, you mean? I don't know what I said, Paul. I guess yeah, I was saying if we win a wild card round and then we play well into the division round or turn around and win the division round game, then I think the conversation changes drastically. Can we get your take on this Sunday's game? It's unpredictable with Washington. I mean, I think that there's a possibility they could fold, just given the internal disruption to their organization right now. I also think that it could be a rallying point for them, and they might come out and give us everything they got, and this could turn into a really tough game to win. Division games are hard to win in the NFL, so you know I really felt good because I knew that the Eagles were pretty ticked off with the Giants. That's why I picked the 40 burger on them, and I said 40-9, and I kept I felt like we could have put 40 up on them if we really wanted to, and we let our foot off the pedal a little bit, but I don't feel that same way against Washington unless there's an utter collapse. If there's an utter collapse, then yeah, we probably will completely blow them out of water. But I don't know where they're at mentally. Anytime you got guys throwing hands on the sideline, that's not good. Clearly it's not a good thing. Harris is a disappointment, in my opinion, Paul said. Paul said Epps and McLeod are really both free safeties and play a similar style. Eagles need to upgrade with a more physical safety this draft. Kyle Hamilton would be awesome. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to be in position to get him. I would love to add Kyle Hamilton. I will say at this point, though, Paul, although McLeod, I agree with you, historically, McLeod has been a free safety. I do think McLeod's probably in that point of his career where maybe a switch to strong safety might be the better investment for him. It's just a matter if he can hold up physically. I'm not too sure he has that same ability and agility to cover the back end like that. But I will say Gannon has stressed that in his scheme, he plays that split safety role, and he doesn't really judge by deep in box. He expects both his guys to be able to do both. Denver is 7-8. Their pick isn't much higher than Philly's. Yeah, but if Philly's in the playoff, it is. Thanks a lot, Coach. Ain't no problem, guys. I agree. Dante says, we got good linebackers just like the secondary. We need one special type athlete at linebacker, too. NFC East B says, I got ridiculed for saying Miami would win 8 games. All I did was look at their schedule, coach, and talent. Philly Fan D says, do you blame the front office wanting a pass-first offense or Sirianni not calling plays to our strengths? We could be playing for the NFC East against Dallas next week. Both. I think part of what happened was an assessment of Jalen Hurts early in the season. I do blame Nick for maybe not going to the front office earlier and saying, okay, this is not working. I think the switch should have came a few weeks earlier. This is clearly not working. We need to reconceptualize this offense and put this young man in a better position to win football games and then work on the things he needs to work on by simplifying stuff for him. I think they were just a little late with that adjustment, to be honest. And I think both the front office and Nick Sirianni should shoulder some of the blame on that. J-Rock said, if Howie isn't looking for the next Tom Brady, don't waste your time because he's being given free, Super Bowls from the NFL and is Roger Goodell. I'm not going to say that because they'll come after me on demonetization for that, man. Can somebody stick a blunt in Kyle Hamilton's mouth on Instagram Live so we can get him in the late first round, trying to slide him down the draft board? Kara said, we usually play Washington close. Okay, Paul says, my draft selections as of today. Number 15, defensive end, Drake Jackson. Number 20, wide receiver, Trey Burks. Number 23, cornerback, Booth. I don't hate that. I don't hate that draft selection. It's an edge rusher. It's a member of the secondary, and it's a guy that could potentially become an X receiver, a split end, boundary side receiver. I don't really hate that selection at all, Paul, but I'm going to dig in a little bit more. We're going to have it. You guys, don't worry about it. We're still going to have that community-based draft that we do every year where we try to, we compete against the simulator. I love the aspects of the simulator because the simulator can throw curveballs at us, and you never know who's going to get selected and disrupt your draft board. I love doing that. It's so fun to do with the community, and we're going to do that again for the 3rd year. The first 2 years were a lot of fun doing that, even though it takes forever to get it through. I mean, that's the old school Battlebirds days where we were on a freaking live stream for like 4 hours. RGR said, morning, I think if we give Hurts another year under Sirianni, things will get a lot better. Really need to address defense. I agree with that a lot. Broncos, as of now, have the 11th pick. Oof. Man, that's a good pick to gain access to. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Dante Hall said, I haven't seen much of this guy, Taylor. Do we have a look at a guy that can become a true impact linebacker hybrid type player? Oh, you're talking Davion. Davion has played really well when he's in games. The problem is he keeps getting injured. So his rookie season, I'll be honest with you, Dante, when I watched the film on him, he looked lost. He looked like he was confused on the play calls and what to do. But then when I took a look at some of the games he played in this year, definitely more instinctual. Flowed to the ball, was not as scared to attack the ball. He was so much better in run support than I thought he would be. He had the knack for being kind of a more athletic profile guy that wasn't necessarily the biggest dude, but he flowed, man. He played pretty well. I got to give the guy credit, man. He's been better than I think a lot of people realize, to be quite honest. Goodell and Eagles have been at war. It took half of a season with the new coaches to learn what the Eagles could and couldn't do, which was pretty much expected with all the new coaches and young skill players on offense. Hey, Gate, is there any chance of trading for a linebacker, Eric Kendricks from the Vikings? I don't know. I mean, you have the connection with, Jonathan Gannon being here and the former linebacker coach for their assistant linebacker coach is now our linebacker coach. So, I mean, I think that's his name, Nick Rallis, something like that. So, I mean, there's familiarity there, but I think Anthony Barr is a free agent too. So if he remains a free agent and hits the free agent, market, I don't know what Anthony Barr is going to want. He's probably going to be quite expensive, to be quite honest. But that's the Sam linebacker that can make an impact. Eagles rarely win in Landover, although that was with Dougie P. My guy Philly 5000 says, Gate City, what's good, my man? I say trade our 3 first-rounders for Aiden Hutchinson. I like Aiden Hutchinson a lot. I'm not even too sure our first 3 rounders, Philly 5000, will get us to where we can get Hutchinson. I'm not too sure. I'd have to look at the trade value chart and see if that would even put us in the conversation for it. I'm not 100% positive. Drew Johnson said, all 3 500? Cam Newton is done. Future says Minshew has to wait until camp. We'll have a draft pick there as well. Jalen has to be good enough to win. We're all rooting for him. I agree, Future. I like that perspective a lot because I agree with it's probably what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a draft pick or what they're going to do, but I do think they'll open up quarterback competition. I think that's how they're going to get around this with Garner. They're not going to open it up in 2021. It'd be like, look, man, you'll get an opportunity to compete in 2022. And then they'll probably try to pull Joe Flacco if he doesn't win the job, where they'll trade him halfway through the season. Paul said, I love linebacker Devin Lloyd of Utah. He's going to be a good one in the NFL and will be there late in the first round. Yeah, I saw him when I was looking. There was someone that came out of Utah last year. It's that really big linebacker that, he could move. Can't remember his name anymore, but I saw him on film pop a little bit when I was looking. I see the Vikings firing Mike Zimmer and possibly hiring Jonathan Gannon as their next head coach. That's a big take, man. I don't know. Dante said, I'm interested to see Stevens from LSU in camp. He could come along this offseason. Paul said, I would not trade 3 first rounders for any one player in the draft. Gay City, what if Howie drafts a quarterback in the second and says that Hurts spot is safe, that he only wants to build on the quarterback factory? It's a mistake. It's not like I don't think it's a mistake that like, oh, Jalen can't handle that. I don't think that's the problem. But it's a mistake in terms of, okay, I get that you value the backup quarterback position, but you have Gardner Minshew still here unless you trade him. I just don't think that makes a ton of sense to me. I think your resources are better spent on the overall roster. Nor would I trade all 3 first rounders for an established quarterback. Eagles need youth on their defense. Future said he'll ask to be traded to Indy. It would be kind of funny. Zaven Collins. Yeah, you're right, Paul. Zaven Collins. Dillard, what do you believe we do with him? Dante, I think there's a couple of really interesting guys, and I'll kind of round this out as I get ready to end the live stream. Guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. I think Dillard and Sayamalu are very interesting guys to think about, which might happen in the offseason. I'm going to be doing a lot over those topics of those two guys, because Dillard, teams may really value the left tackle, and they might give us something decent for him, a day 2 pick, round 3, maybe round 2, possibly. Just depends on how desperate they are to get him. Sayamalu, I think the Eagles would love to see him slide in as a center potentially, with having Dickerson as left guard, Mulata as your left tackle. Then you got Driscoll as your right guard, Lane Johnson as your right tackle. Then you got a couple of guys that are going to play that role of the swing guards, tackle, center, that kind of stuff. Here's the issue, though. I don't know. Like Sayamalu might have a ton of interest too from other teams. So I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think those are really ones to watch. I can't predict what's going to happen because I don't know where the value comes in. But if you get a 2nd round pick offer for Andre Dillard, even a 3rd round, I don't know, man. I probably would move on, man. Philly Fan D said, where would you rank Mulata? Might be the best young left tackle in the league. I think the conversation would be between him and Mekhi Becton. I'd have to watch film on all these guys before I really rank them, but I am going to do that kind of work. Philly Fan D in the offseason, we're going to do rankings. We're going to do all that stuff. Edwin, what's up, buddy? Long time no see, man. He said Raekwon Davis from Georgia, the N from Michigan, and Gardner, the sauce from Cincinnati. Super Bowl champs. Alexa says, I want to draft Aiden Hutchinson. I think a lot of people do. Kara said, my friend is a Seahawks fan, and he said he'd kill for Dillard. Probably would. Yeah, there's some organizations that really need it. Just to your team. It's a good perspective, Kara, actually. It's a really good perspective. Philly 5000 said, Gate City, if we get in, can we win in the playoffs? I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard to assess how we can play against better competition. I think it's a big unknown. I think offensively, there's some things I trust now from the offense. But defensively, I don't know what to expect against better quarterbacks. I just don't know. I mean, I have no clue. Hard to say. Paul said, Dillard will be traded this offseason. I could see packaging him for a 4th rounder to get a 2nd rounder from some offensive tackle needy team. Alex said, we need a safety. I hear you. I think a lot of us feel that way. Seattle will kill for anybody. Yeah. Yeah, I think Dante, I hear what you're saying, Dante. He said, Paul, I wouldn't trade Dillard for a 2nd. He doesn't move the way people that he likes from that tackle position move. I think he's actually pretty good at the movement part. I don't think he can anchor. I think movement-wise, he's got it. I mean, he's got the mechanics down. He's a very mechanically sound guy when it comes to the movement factor of things. I think he can't anchor. I think he doesn't stand up to bull rushes. I think it's a problem. When guys go speed to power, he gets in trouble. But I will say, I think what Paul's alluding to is the fact that teams are so tackle needy that Dillard is a really good tackle for other teams, while he's just not what we're looking for here in terms of the starter. I think we could possibly win one game because they won't be able to stop the run and we'll eat up the clock, but I don't know about that. Why I would like to see Linderbaum on the Eagles is because he is already near Kelsey's talent. I think he could come in, and after a few games, they wouldn't miss a beat on the O-line. I don't know if that's true, NFC East Beast. The one thing I don't know where he is in terms of slide adjustments, and like there's some things on the inner workings of playing the offensive line that I can't predict where Linderbaum is at yet. Kelsey wasn't that guy his first year. He had to develop into being able to do those things. Kara said, in all fairness, this was before the season started and when the Seahawks didn't seem like trash. Is this year a good draft class for safety? I think there are a few players that can add value to it, but I wouldn't say that it's a great safety class. I'd say it's good. VD Pat, what's up, man? He says, hey, Gate, Sirianni has improved throughout the year, but what can he still improve on in coaching? What steps does he need to take? Develop these wide receivers, man. Identify talent at the wide receiver position. We need to keep growth. Growth needs to keep continuing with these quarterbacks. There's still some cornerstones here that have to happen on the offensive side of the ball that has to get a little better. Play calling. He's got to be, situational on the play calling stuff. I do think that there's some feel to the game things he's got to get a little bit better at in terms of the field. But overall, he's done really well. I like what Sirianni's done. I don't think he moved D lineman like I hear what you're saying. He's not. I get what you say by movement now, Dante. I understand. You're talking about his ability to actually push, to actually gain a little momentum in the run game. Hurts, Dillard, first rounder, and a second rounder to Seattle for Russell Wilson. Would you do this? Dillard and Hurts and a first rounder and a second rounder. You're trading the backup. You have a starter you're plugging in. I don't think Seattle would do it, but probably so. Remember, Dillard's a blindside tackle. I think our passing game could improve a lot. Mostly Hurts seeing the field, but too many drops as well. I agree. Future. Linderbaum is the highest rated offensive lineman in the draft class, but plays center, so he will go top 12. I don't know, Paul. When's the last time you saw center go anywhere above the 20th pick, man? It's been a long, long time. Centers normally go, if they're really, really good, in the mid-20s. Gate City says, I don't get a chance again. I wanted to wish a happy new year and be safe. Are you watching the games today? There's going to be a lot of talent playing. How he needs to do some homework. Absolutely, yes. I will be watching some of the games. I will have a later, video today, guys. It will be an independent video. It's not going to be just a rehash of this, where I'm going to be making a pretty big announcement for the channel. But a happy new year, Philly 5000. I appreciate that, buddy. Everything, Malcolm Jones. We're talking about everything, man. We've been talking about the draft. We talk about Minshew going into Nick Sirianni's office and asking what he needs to do to, become a starting quarterback. Obviously, I would assume he was alluding to being the starter for the Philadelphia Eagles. And we talked about how everybody kind of feels about a backup quarterback doing that. We've been all over the place, man. All over the place, Malcolm. Russ has been missing DK and Lockett all year. Worse than Jalen, to be honest. Kelsey is a Hall of Fame center. I still think he has 2 to 3 years left. I hope so. I would love to have him if he's going to play at the level he's been playing at. I don't, that's a good question, Alexis. I have to see film, man. I don't want to say anything definitive until there's film. Guys, part of what I'm telling you is a major announcement that's coming later tonight and has to deal with the way I'm going to be rating the prospects and the access I'm going to give you guys to that. It's going to be a greater expansion from last year. It's going to be a lot more. Marky Mac says, I don't know, is it Olive? I don't know how you say his name. I know exactly what you're talking about because people thought he was going to come out last year's draft and he didn't. Or Garrett. I like Garrett a lot, actually. I like both of them. They both can separate. Future Generation said no. Sirianni doesn't overthink in the playoffs. Just run the ball and play smash mouth football. NFC teams are too finesse. We don't want Russell Wilson. I disagree, my guy. I disagree. I like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not the same conversation as Russell Wilson. Now, the value we're talking about Hurts season has to do with a first, a second, Hurts, and Dillard instead of giving away all 3 of your first-round picks. So it's allowing you that capital. I don't think Seattle would make that trade because I don't think so. But let's be honest, man. People thought Tom Brady was cooked in New England. You get him in the right system with the right coaching staff, and you see he's now with plenty of talent in Tampa Bay, and he's got an offensive-minded coach, and he's thriving again. Some of, I think, what's going on there has to do with Pete Carroll. Yeah, Pouncey. I knew what you meant, Paul. Pouncey. Only quarterbacks, tackles, and edges don't slide in the draft. I know what you were saying, Future. I got it. Paul said Russell's had a bad season, no doubt. So his value will not be quite as high as some would have thought. I don't know, man. You're still talking about a franchise quarterback, guys. I don't think that they're going to move off of Russ for short of a couple of first round picks. Personally, I don't know if it'll be. I don't think you'd have to trade all 3 first rounders for someone like Russ. To be honest with you guys, I'm not really in the quarterback market in terms of trading away multiple first round picks. I just think it's really hard to build your team. And I think even though you can get a guy that can make guys around him better, if you don't have enough assets to build the rest of the roster, you can improve your football team, but it might take, you're talking about Super Bowl. I think Russ is a guy that you want to trade those assets to put him on a roster that's Super Bowl worthy the minute you put him on a roster. And I don't think that's what the Eagles are. So, I mean, that's more so where I would be objectable to that. But I went Spencer Rattler. Do you enjoy the offseason more than the games? No, I enjoy the games. That's why I don't live stream them. Irish Steve says, "Sup, Steve? Happy New Year. Happy New Year, buddy." Wilson has like 3 years left. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. You got quarterbacks that are going to easily play into their 40s now, man, because of the way that the rules have changed around the position in terms of what you can and cannot do. I think you're going to see quarterbacks that start having a longer shelf life in a play. He's only 33 years old, man. Like, I think he's got more than 3 years left in him. Do you believe that Washington football team's embarrassing loss last week will factor into this weekend's game? Very difficult for Bird's victory. It's possible, Samuel. It's hard to say. I don't know how they're going to respond to it. They could potentially fold and just pack it in on the 21 season, or they could be out there playing angry and bad and want to, spread misery. You know what I mean? Misery loves company. That whole thing. Edwin said, "Bro, watch Roshmo. I hit big in the draft with my draft. We will be in great in quarterback, linebacker, safety, and wide receiver. They are all starting for good teams and doing well. Brishmo is money." Rattler is Strain College. You lost me there, man. And transferred to South Carolina for the 2020 season, so he won't come out until the 23 draft. If Carroll leaves, I'm sure Wilson will bounce. Well, if Pete Carroll leaves, he might stay, Eric, because his problem is really with Pete Carroll and the conservative nature of his offense. If they, I don't know if Dougie P would have any interest if Pete Carroll leaves. I mean, he's interviewing in Jacksonville, so he might end up with the Jacksonville job. But Dougie P is from, the Washington area, and I do think that Russ would be more inclined to want to play with Doug Peterson. So I don't really think it's a possibility that Wilson is going to get traded here. So yeah, I agree. Future. He's only 33 years old. He's got more than 3 years left in the league. Wilson's going to 45. I don't know if he's going to go to 45, but I definitely think he's got more than 3 years left in the league. I mean, I don't know. I mean, hard to say. Some guys have lives outside of football and they have, opportunities to where they want to expand upon it. Gay City, do you think Howie regrets bad draft picks or does he still believe in them? I think the answer, and the coaching staff says he still believes in some of these guys, that he felt like player development was the issue, not his picks. That's what it seems like to me. Might as well ring Brady in the combo. Either Pete Carroll or Russell Wilson will go in Seattle. No way that both return in 2022. If Carroll remains, then Russell will demand a trade. I agree. I think I don't know, Paul. My hunch is that Pete Carroll's going to go. I think they're going to move on from Pete Carroll and keep Russell, in my opinion, Paul. But I don't know. It's not like, I'm not an insider for Seattle Seahawks. So I don't, I have no clue. But that's the hunch I get, is that they're going to bring in an offensive-minded coach for us. Happy New Year, Steve. Appreciate that, Malcolm. Happy New Year to you. If we trade for Wilson, Hurts needs to go. He probably would. I don't think you would keep him here. That'd be a weird thing. But honestly, guys, I don't honestly think this is going to happen. I think some of you guys are misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm saying the trade that was presented to me, would I do it? Sure. I'm sorry. I like Jalen. I do believe Jalen can be a franchise quarterback if you let him develop, but he's not better than Russell Wilson, guys. I mean, that's delusional level thinking. With that said, I'm not interested in trying to, like I said, I think it's going to take you two first round picks and maybe even another pick, a day 2 or day 3 pick on top of that to get a Russell Wilson. And I just don't think that the Eagles are solely a quarterback away from a Super Bowl. Can we be better with better quarterback play? Sure. But we're not to that point, guys. I mean, in my opinion, that would be a crazy thing for the Eagles to do. Hurts would be in that package to acquire Wilson. I agree. DPs, the wide receivers couldn't get open. That is no longer a problem. Jaquan Snowden, what's up, buddy? He says, I think we need another edge rusher, defensive tackle, linebacker, then safety in the draft. In that order, all these position groups are older and going downhill. Need to get the defense ready for the next couple of years. I agree, Jaquan. I agree that our money is better spent trying to improve the defense right now. Spike 23 said, if we jump on them early, they're packing up the season. I agree, Spike. And I think that's what has to happen. Nick has to stay true to what we can do in the game plan. We need to get Jalen Hurts into a rhythm, and we need to put this team away early. That's what needs to happen. Kara said, I don't think that they would trade, and then you don't think it'll trade them to an NFC team. Yeah, I think it depends upon the value there, but I agree with you, Kara. There's going to be some AFC teams that would package those picks as well. And, the only lure that we could give them as a quarterback, whether it be Minshew, Hurts, whatever, we could give them an extra guy, but they'll probably want their own pick of their own guy. So, I mean, yeah, I could see it. Future said, I want Jalen Hurts, Minshew in a 1 in quarterback room personally, but I believe in competition. Paul says Wilson has a good 5 to 6 years left. He takes care of himself. I agree. He's probably around the 5-year mark more so than, yeah. I mean, maybe he goes past that up to close to 40, but yeah, I would say he's closer to the 5-year mark than the 3-year mark. I think we can build this team with Hurts on a rookie deal. Big reason why I stay with Hurts. Philly Fan D, that's the part of it I agree with, is that you're better suited to try to develop what you've already spent a second-round pick on. See if you can't get that guy. At least give it another year before you start making these kind of crazy impact trades. And try, you know what I mean? That's, to me, that's the way I would go about it too, Philly Fan D. But I'm never going to try to predict this front office. It's unpredictable in some aspects. Wilson is dedicated like Brady. Yeah, Carl says fans want Pete gone over Russ for sure. I think they're going to move on from Pete Carroll, and Russ will still be there, personally. Gate City, how would you feel if Carson gets us the 32nd pick? It is what it is, Philly 5000. I get what you're alluding to. If he wins the Super Bowl, how would I feel? It is what it is, 5,000. What can you do, man? Like, he wanted out. You can blame the front office for the way they handled the situation, but he's got his own cross to bear on this too, man. He didn't do. Yeah. Hurt season said, which is why I think we just build behind Jalen. I think it's what they're going to do too, personally, Hurt season. I think they're going to build behind Jalen. That's what it seems like to me. But I don't really, the front office, I don't fully trust in any given moment either. There's the element of like what I think they should do, and there's the element of like what they would do. I don't know, man. This front office is crazy, man. Patra said, I have several coworkers that are Seahawks fans. They would rather keep Pete over Russ. I hear it the other way, though, Patra. I'm hearing it the other way, that they definitely want Russ over Pete Carroll. Who do you think is better, Dak or Jalen? I mean, Edwin right now, Dak's better than Jalen right now. I think Jalen could potentially be better in the future. It's betterment than not Philly 5000. It's better than not Philly 5000. Wentz won it out, so he had to go, bottom line. I agree, Paul. Like, there's just, the defense is more than a quarterback away. I agree, Allison. I would stick at this point, man. It's just too much that we need to build around here. Ed, when I see your super chat, buddy, I appreciate you so much. I'm getting to it, man. AR Coyote Hunter hitting Western Carolina next week. Got to thin the pack. Edwin Solano, $2 super chat. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for your hard work, brother, and responding. No problem, Edwin. I appreciate y'all for chiming in and talking, guys. At least I got someone to talk to, because if not, just me looking like a crazy person talking to no one. I can see the Eagles seriously pursuing edge Hassan Reddick in free agency. I wouldn't hate that one, Paul. I wouldn't hate that at all. Hurt said, left line, guarantee Wilson is out of the league by 2026. I've been any amount. You would bet any amount of money. I don't know why. I just see him declining. Doesn't seem like he has the mindset that Brady had. He does. I've been around him Hurt season. I'm telling you, he does. He's going to be around a lot longer than 26, man. Paul said, bringing a Philly guy home in Reddick. I would love to do that, Paul. Honestly, I would love to sign him. Absolutely 100% appreciated all your channel has provided this past year. Thank you. Eagles have been interesting at the very least. Go Birds. Thank you, Samuel. I appreciate that, man. That's high praise, guys. I really appreciate y'all. All right, guys. Sorry, Russell Wilson is on the downside of his career. Draft Leal, Sauce Gardner, and Ojabo. The sky's the limit. I wouldn't necessarily go after Russell Wilson. I don't think he's on the downside of his career. I don't think he's going to get any better than he is in his career right now in terms of reading the field, being able to manipulate coverage. He's at the height of where his understanding is. My opinion is this: people thought the same thing about Brady, and it had a lot to do with the organization, and it had a lot to do with Bill Belichick, more so than it had to do with Brady. So, I mean, I think it's more of that situation, to be honest. All right, guys, I'm going to try to see. I'm about to jump off here. I'm going to see if I can't find someone that hasn't had a chance to really comment, and I'll pull your comment up before I jump off, guys. Glizzy, appreciate you chiming in. He said, what grade are you giving the Sirianni signing gate? I was pretty high on it, Glizzy. I actually called his hire I think it was 24 hours before it happened. I said he was my guy. That's the guy I would hire. Early on, I was definitely a Brian Dable guy when he made it known he wasn't going to come here. I liked Arthur Smith a lot, but I knew that he was going to take that Atlanta job. I mean, it just seemed so apparent once he got to Atlanta, that's where he was going. He wasn't going to leave there without the job. So, I moved on to Nick Sirianni. I took a lot of crap from people. Because, some people, they wanted the offensive coordinator. I'm not even going to say his name over there in New England. So I thought Nick signing was really good. I do think that Jeffrey Lurie has a knack for identifying young coaches. I think he's done so good at that. Spike 23, man. I super appreciate that $10 super chat, buddy. He said, keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Spike, man. I love talking to you, bro. I love the fact that you always you push your opinion, man. And I love engaging with you in the comment section, man. Appreciate this, and I'll see you all on the next video, guys. Official video coming tonight. Major announcement. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys.